Somebody in the comments asked if I could explain the difference between libel and slander, and that's a great comment because actually I wanted to do something about this because I mentioned about malicious falsehood recently. I thought, people might be wondering what that is. Okay, basically these are all species of defamation, so they're all about telling lies about people. The traditional answer is that libel is written and slander is verbal, something you speak. That's not entirely true. It's more that libel has a sense of permanence about it. So, for instance, a television program where people are just speaking, that is usually libel because, people take it more seriously, especially these days. It lives around forever. Clips can go up on YouTube. Slander, though, used to be spoken, but now the courts have started to treat social media, especially Twitter, as more akin to slander, because slander was always, the idea was it was impermanent. If somebody said something, especially in these sort of pre-recording days, that was it. It was spoken, but then there was no record of it. So the idea was it didn't have quite as big an impact. But like I say, that distinction is being blurred a little bit. It matters less now, though, because it used to be in England and Wales that libel was what we call actionable per se. You didn't need to show any special damages. You just got damages for your hurt reputation, but you didn't actually have to show that you'd suffered any other loss. Whereas with slander, you had to show that you'd actually suffered a loss as a result, with a few exceptions. Some were quite quirky. Disparaging somebody in their trade or profession has always been considered to be very, very serious, and that you don't actually need to prove loss. And even today, an accusation that does sort of suggest somebody's not doing their job properly, that is sort of treated, that gets you part of the way to sort of proving the loss. There was also one about the chastity of women. You couldn't suggest that ladies were less than virtuous. Weirdly, I actually had a case where I didn't run that. This was that was abolished relatively recently. I had a case just before it was being abolished, and I had to sort of say, look, we know this is getting abolished like next week, so can't we just treat it as if it is? And luckily, the judge agreed with me. Now, though, like I say, this has all changed because the Defamation Act now, you've got to show, quote, serious harm. And if you're a company or somebody who, trading commercially, that's serious financial harm. So you have that extra, that hurdle there. So perhaps the distinction is slightly less important now. I mean, you've also got the damages. You get the damages for, sort of hurt feelings, but you can also claim what we call special damages, which is, this is a quantifiable loss. I lost my job with a company, and here's what the wages I would have got, or I lost a particular gig, and here's what I would have been paid, or, contract was cancelled, something like that. So that's libel and slander. What about malicious falsehood? Well, the thing with malicious falsehood here is it has to be a lie, but it doesn't actually have to be disparaging. So for libel and slander, it's got to be something that lowers somebody's reputation. But let's say, for instance, somebody rings me up and goes, "Hey, Al, have you got Black Belt Barrister's phone number? Because I want to instruct him on a case." And I say, "Oh, sorry, Dan's actually not available now. He's off doing his charity work." Now, nobody's going to think less of anybody for doing charity work, but I have cost Dan money, and it's even more so if I've actually done it to gain money myself. Oh, I'm available though. But that's it. So it can be something like a false accusation of insolvency. Because nobody blames anybody for going insolvent. These things just happen, but that's always been considered to be a malicious falsehood. So that's the main distinction: is that in malicious falsehood, it doesn't actually have to lower somebody's reputation. It just has to be a lie that costs them money. The test is calculated to cause them harm. I mean, it can be other forms of harm, not necessarily financial, but it usually is financial. So you get this a lot in the corporate world because, companies are always bad-mouthing each other. So, oh, you've given the contract to, so-and-so. Oh, have they sorted out that health and safety problem? Oh, should have said that. It's all, that I get so many defamation cases, especially in a small county where, where everybody knows everybody's business, and people are always trying that sort of thing, just like letting little things slip. So I spend a lot of time both sending and receiving letters before action. But anyway, I hope you found that useful. As I say, as always, I keep forgetting, but if you wouldn't mind liking this video, if you liked it, you don't have to. And also, please consider subscribing, because I'm actually quite excited. The channel's like really, really growing. So I'm going to ring Spotify and say, I hear there's a vacancy for a podcast.